guys, Godspeed again. I wanted to take a quick second and show you my favorite jig trailer. I was fishing with a gentleman yesterday that we got to talking briefly about jig trailers, what was his favorite, what was my favorite, and maybe I have kind of an unusual one, I don't know. Most people think of the Baby Brush Hog as a creature bait. Obviously it works great on like a shaky head, tons and tons and tons of other uses, but mine is a Baby Brush Hog. But I don't use the Baby Brush Hog straight out of the package, and that's what I'm going to show you today. I've been extremely successful with this jig trailer, and the reason that I like Zoom products in particular, and I like the Baby Brush Hog so much, is the versatility of it all. For what, $3.99, I'm getting 12 of these, and I can use them as standalone creature baits. I can use them as jig trailers. I can use them in a ton of different scenarios, but I'm not paying a lot for them, as opposed to say like the missile baits, the Baby D bomb, and some of these other ones. You get 7 of the Baby D bombs. I just kind of wanted to show you how I modify that. Like I said, I've been very successful with it. Fall's coming up, jig season is upon us, and I just kind of want to show you how I go ahead and do that. So stay tuned, guys. I hope you enjoy the video. Alright guys, so here we got 2 Baby Brush Hogs, and we have a 3/8 ounce dirty jig. This is a pitching jig in sprayed grass color, followed by my favorite trailer, that's a Baby Brush Hog. So this is kind of the package as it's been modified, but I'm going to go over kind of what it takes to make it look like this, and I'll show you in the kind of the completed form. So the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to trim the flaps on the sides, okay? And you're going to cut those pretty much all the way back until you hit the kind of the middle long plastic here. And what that's going to do is when it actually hits the rock or it hits the dirt, all right, this will not open up, say like a Baby Brush Hog will, and basically flop over here and there. The plastic's too thick. But what I like about it is you'll see, even when I try to get you a shot in the sink, in my shop sink, they will kind of open up and kind of vibrate, kind of like a craw, which I really, really like. So you're going to trim those basically all the way back to the middle plastic. And if you want a little bit more subtle, you don't want it opening up quite as much, you could trim it less and just don't give it as much play. But I like to really open them up as much as possible and get those arms and legs flailing when it actually impacts the hard surface. So the first thing you're going to do, like I said, is trim right down this middle seam. Okay. Then what you're going to do is you have choices when it comes to these front appendages. You can either take the rounded portion and just snip off the top of it, or you could cut right along the inside. So you can cut basically right here, all right? And if you do that, you'll leave the arm kind of flailing. One thing you need to keep in mind if you do that is the fact that the jig skirt will actually get in the way of that action. It will twirl. I will do that if I have like a finesse jig or something like that doesn't have a lot of strands. I will trim it real close to get that additional action, because it really won't get in the way too much. But if you're running like a full skirt like this, I don't even think this has been trimmed that much. But if you're running like a full skirt and you leave these appendages, this skirt will get in the way of the action a little bit. So keep that in mind, guys. What I do, which I did on this one for demonstration's sake, is I went ahead and just trimmed the appendages there just straight across. I just cut the top of it off real as close as I could. And this kind of leaves little flappy arms out here that vibrate. It's pretty nice. It's very, very similar to a thicker version. This is the Jean LaRue Biffle Bug. This is a small version, the 3.5 inch. And as you can see, it kind of gives, obviously a much thicker version of it, but it kind of gives the same type of profile. So that's what I do as far as appendages most of the time on my full skirted jigs. Again though, if I have a finesse jig, I might very well just cut it, just one small snip on this back part of the appendage, and then it'll leave that arm will flail as it goes through the water. So that's that. As far as length is concerned, this depends on the jig that you're using. But what I like to do is, because a Baby Brush Hog is rounded on the end, I will just snip the very rounded tip of it off, and that'll give me a good flush surface. So when it's actually sitting against the jig, it'll have a good flush sort of a profile, okay? So it'll really fit up there good. Now, one thing you need to keep in mind is, especially on, this is a 1.5 ounce Dirty Jigs punching jig. But one thing you need to keep in mind is a Baby Brush Hog was not intended as a jig trailer originally. It's obviously a creature bait. So the actual trailer keeper that's on the back of it will actually pierce through the Baby Brush Hog a little bit sometimes. But it works extremely well. Zoom plastic is proven, and you won't have any problem getting it on. Again, this is a 1.5 ounce punching jig, so you can get these on some of the biggest jigs on the market and not have any sort of problem. So that's pretty much it as far as modifications are concerned, as far as what I do. And I'm going to show you what it looks like in the water, and show you that the action, in my opinion, is superior to some of your other options, some of your other creature baits. I don't have any craws sitting here with me, but compared to like the little Baby Brush Hog and some of these other ones, so, or the Baby D-Bomb, I should say. So one thing I really do like, and I should mention about the Brush Hog, is the swimming action that you have. When it's actually swimming through the water, these little tail appendages here kind of twirl in the water. It's going to be hard for me to demonstrate in the video, but I really like the action swimming, and I like the action once it impacts actually on the ground better than some of these other options. And so anyway, that's how I do it, guys, and I'm going to show you what that looks like right here in a second. Stay tuned.